the single-use approach is one of those that we want to fight, and where we really have a lot of allies on the floor. But it's a tough battle. So for now, the first sort of strategic point we've made is stop converting into single use. So if we stop converting more multiple use into single use, at least we've sort of turned off the tap. And then we need to find out how to get back on the multiple use pathways. But at least we need to turn off the tap.
Hello, Joachim here. Welcome to the Sustainable Healthcare Podcast. Back with another episode. The Sustainable Healthcare Podcast is where we talk everything about sustainability in healthcare, both in the healthcare services and hospitals, and for medtech and pharma companies. And today I have Brit and Mette with me, who are working in the Danish healthcare system and driving the sustainability change there. Welcome to the Sustainable Healthcare Podcast, Brit and Mette.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've been quite excited to have you on, because I think it's so important that we get to include the frontline and the people who are actually working out where the care is happening and working with sustainability there. So sustainability doesn't come a separate ivory tower thing. But first, it could be really nice if you would introduce yourself. Would you like to begin, Mette? So
Sure.
What are you working with, and what was your way into sustainability and healthcare?
I think that way is too long to this podcast.
Okay.
I've been working with climate and sustainability issues in the North Denmark region for the last 15 years. Before that, I was working at the university. I'm the team coordinator in our sustainability team here in the region. And so I'm more or less involved in a strategic level of all the sustainability issues that we are trying to run in the region. First, when I got this job, the job was mostly how the region could work with other stakeholders in the society and in North Jutland as such, with sustainable energy and mobility and things like that. But more and more, the transition of the hospitals and other institutions have taken over the entire agenda.
Yeah, well, which I think is great. And just for our listeners out there, it's so that in Denmark, the healthcare sector is predominantly public, and it's organized in 5 regions, and region North Jutland, where you're working, is one of them. Thank you so much, Mette. Brit, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Brit, and I'm an anthropologist. And I've been working with environment and sustainability for the last 7 years, I think, in different aspects, but the last 3 years here, Mette. And I came into it at a point where Mette was sort of getting a grasp of what the work involved and how we were going to reach our goals. So it was still a very new work and process when I got into it 3 years ago, and I think we've taken a leap from when we started, just in a very short amount of time, really. So I think that's sort of my background.
Yes, and this leap involves being a team consisting of more than just me. From being the sole workforce in this, we now have a team of 6 different persons, Brit being one of them, and of course 6 brains and hands and eyes, pair of eyes and everything will we'll just complete many more tasks and think many more clever thoughts. So we definitely have taken leaps in the last 3 years.
Yeah, we need all the good people we can get for sustainability in healthcare. And I think you're exactly right that it's been going very slow for a long time with sustainability in healthcare. And then now it's going very fast. And I think that's new for a lot of people. So you are working with the sustainability strategy, amongst other things. At a high level, could you share what is the sustainability goal and the corresponding strategy for Region North Jutland?
Yeah, the strategic framework that we're working with is very much tied up to our climate, the CO2 climate calculations, and so our goals is very much tied to the reduction in CO2 emissions. So we have an overall goal of reducing our emissions with 30% in 2030, 40% in 2030, and that is including all 3 scopes, scope 1, 2, and 3, which will be the energy, the transport, but also all the consumption issues. So that's the overall, what do you call it? That would be the overall goal. And of course, that involves a lot of different smaller or shorter goals and different kinds of strategies. The most general term we can tell about the strategic framework that we work with is that half of this reduction is tied to the energy consumption, the transport, the buildings, and everything related to that. And 25% is related to how we procure. So the solutions will be found in the procurement procedures, and the final 25% is about reducing our consumption. So this is not this split in 50, 25, and 25% does not mirror how big the emissions are. Of course, the emissions in the consumption are much more than the 25%, but also the possibilities to reduce the emissions that are related to the consumption are much more difficult to achieve than the emissions that are related to transport, energy, and all that kind of things. So that's the general framework.
Super exciting. And you're touching upon that. Of course, there are some things like changing the energy in scope 2. You can almost just buy something different in the market, and that's easy to solve. And when we are looking into changing care pathways and working with suppliers, things get a lot harder. But I also hear you saying that you do need different solutions from the private companies that are your suppliers, providing equipment and medicine and so on. Could you share some of your thoughts about that, and if you're doing anything to work with suppliers or changing the way you buy things? Or
I think we can come up with a case where we have a specific product that we have changed from a single-use product to a reusable product. I think perhaps, wait, you can tell.
Exciting.
Yes, it's actually well, to get into that, maybe I'm a bit off path now, but the approach that we've taken until now is we've worked very much with the bottom-up perspective, because we needed healthcare professionals and employees in our organization to know basic knowledge about sustainability. So that was our work approach, that if as many people as possible in this very, very big organization know just the fundamentals of working with sustainability, then we have sort of a workforce that
Agents that drive the chains for us, and it's a way for us to support the healthcare professionals. And so one of the sections that we work with are the what's that called, midwives,
and they have come up with a reusable protective sheet, which is sort of a blue sheet that most healthcare professionals in Denmark might know, that sort of suck up all the goo from the patients. And they've developed a reusable protective sheet, and they've tested it and found that they use, like for a normal birth where they use the single-use protective sheet, they use 8, maybe more. But with this new reusable product, they use only 4. So the reduction is like, I think it's 90% reduction in use with this sheet.
And this sheet has been developed in cooperation with our laundry and textile service provider.
Yeah, so that's a cooperation where we work with the private provider to find new solutions for all the single-use products that we have, and it's been very giving on many fronts.
That's super exciting and a great sort of archetype of case that I think we will see a lot more of in the future. These kind of things, from going from single use to multiple use. But of course, I also hear you saying that you have succeeded in delivering the same standard of care, and that the clinicians, the midwives and the doctors are as happy using the new solution. Is that correctly understood?
Yeah. It is, of course, it's always one of the most difficult things with a big organization like ours. It's that in the hospital, you can't just implement a new product or a new procedure and call in staff and let them all know about it, because staff are working different time sheets. They're not there at the same time. A ward might consist of 200 employees, so it takes a long time for change to sort of hit everybody. And it's a very hard thing to communicate the change and sort of get it implemented, because people are not all there at the same time. So that's one thing that we sort of need to take care of as well. But the main thing is that we rely heavily on the healthcare professionals to sort of tap in on this agenda, because they have all the knowledge and they know how to secure the patient in the end, and that's the most important thing. And they have every reason, or they have every excuse in the book not to take on this work. They're still working off the COVID. They have trouble getting new colleagues. They have every excuse in the book to say this is not our job, but they tap into it anyway. A lot of healthcare professionals tap into it, and they do it in a way that's so important, because they don't really think about that goal that's 7 years ahead. They think about, what can I do when I go to work today or tomorrow? What can I do differently to help the environment?
Yeah. What is it, this kind of world that we leave for our children? It's very much a basic ethic approach that a lot of healthcare professionals they have.
Yeah, no, I completely agree that We see that all over. It's no secret that a lot of healthcare systems are under a lot of pressure. The Danish one, the NHS in the UK, you mentioned staffing or funding issues, COVID stuff still, and still we see that across the board, clinicians and hospital staff are quite excited to work with this, we still see the myth sometimes though that it's, oh, we cannot touch that because the nurses and the doctors don't want that. But where people actually go and talk to them, we see that they are not opposed. Of course, they have a practical reality that they have to fit it into, but they do want to find solutions as well because they're very value driven.
Yeah. Well, nobody loves the single-use items. Oh, of course, some of them are very convenient, but generally they are not much loved. And some of the older nurses and often says as well, when I was younger, we used to do this and that, and we used to wash it, and we used to sterilize it and things. Why can't we do it again? And it was much better than this. So the single-use approach is one of those that we want to fight, and where we really have a lot of allies on the floor. But it's a tough battle because then we have several fronts in this battle. So for now, the first sort of strategic point we've made is stop converting into single use. So if we stop converting more multiple use into single use, at least we've sort of turned off the tap. And then we need to find out how to get back on the multiple use pathways. But at least we need to turn off the tap.
That's a great practical advice out there because we do see, not for all, but by and large, the LCAs, the life cycle assessment for multiple use devices are lower. Could you share a little bit about how you then work with this private company to come up with a new solution? Because we are a management consulting company. Most of our clients are private companies, and a lot of them are like, hey, we spent the last 25 years converting into single use because of sterilization issues and other things. It's going to be very hard for us to turn back, and this region wants this, but this market wants that. Maybe it's a large American company that then it can easily be like, oh, it's too tough. We don't even want to do it. So how did you actually go about working with a private supplier to create a new solution, going from single use to multiple use?
Well, this private supplier actually already we started this development process from the different perspective, where we had a project where some of the nurses, they wanted to compare single-use clothing for patients with the multiple-use version. And for that, they wanted some data from this laundry provider, I don't know, the laundry service provider. And they didn't want to, the laundry service didn't want to publish this data for this purpose. And from that sort of small conflict with them, we started a development process together. So we made actually a development contract with them because they were working very hard to prolong the lives of every textile product that they have. They are both a textile provider, textile solutions, use sheets and uniforms and whatever. And they already had a sustainability strategy about how long their textiles should live and how many different lives they could have. So they were already working on this agenda. So it was more or less a question of matching two wants, a want and a need. Yeah,
but it is an issue that as a region, even as a country, we are a very small player when it comes to medicine or other products for the hospital, and that's a big issue because it's hard to get a voice when even as Europe, you're a small player, and private companies don't want to change their production line just for one region, maybe not even for a country, maybe not even for three, and that is a big issue. And of course, all the law in buying services and products also have some challenges in it. So I don't think there's a recipe, and I think every company, every region is struggling to get through in this. I think it's an issue that will go on for many years, and it's also an issue that we need the private providers to tap into it because we don't have the force to do it.
So far, we take the route of the least resistance. So we walk in open doors, and we don't spend energy on the closed ones.
Is there anything we do have quite a few listeners from private companies? Is there any advice you would give to them for private companies that wants to engage in creating more sustainable solutions?
I think this opportunity to enter into development processes with the healthcare sector is a good way in, because the private providers are perfectly right when they say, well, they won't pay for it. The public healthcare sector won't pay for this product, and now we spend time and energy developing, and they won't pay for it because it's more expensive. That would be the case here as well. So sometimes I think the way in will be to develop something together with the customer, and that would ease the path of selling something that could perhaps look more expensive, but in the long run will not be.
And if there are smaller providers, I think it's very important that you don't produce a product that's fitted for just one region, but that we're better at working together and say we have this thing that every region needs. So in the starting process, we involve every region so that the end result is fitted to every region instead of just one, and then we have to sort of the other regions have to adapt it, but change a little bit. So because we're so different, even though we provide the same services, so we need that cooperation like early on, so we don't spend too much energy adapting things.
Yeah, we are seeing good results from public-private partnerships around this as well, and I had the pleasure of facilitating some of them as a third party and as a sustainability experts. And you mentioned something interesting, Mette, that it might still be a better deal or cost less in the long run, and that is one of the key issues that we are seeing around sustainability, is that it's not so much that price is a key parameter. That's a given, that's fair that it is the way, but it's the way that you think about price, that you're looking at it in a very narrow scope, sometimes either for that the time period is only here now, or that you're not calculating the cost of time for when the nurses or doctors are using it, or the disposing cost, of course CO2 taxes and stuff like that as well, or if the patients have to come back for new treatment, stuff like that. Basically, looking at it from a more value-based healthcare or more broader healthcare economics perspective, I think will inherently improve the odds for more sustainable solutions. Is that a picture that you're also seeing, that the financing models and the way we look at what we are buying can be a blocker for sustainability?
Oh, definitely. One of the biggest ones. If we handled the healthcare system's economy like we handle our own, we wouldn't have all these single-use items. Of course, there are some from hygienic perspective, but all those that are only about conveniency, they would not be there because they are not actually economically feasible in this way. Not if you calculate the entire cost of having them. Another thing, so there are definitely issues in the way that our economy and the legislation and the budgets are made, and there are a lot of humps in the way, and we need a lot of different changes to move towards this more circular way of seeing the economy and the resource system. One thing that I would love to see implemented in the procurement process would be that before you buy a product, you actually have to consider, how should we waste treat this? How easy is it to repair and maintain and disassemble, and how can we waste treat it? That it should actually be a key parameter if you buy when you buy something. That is some of my wishes.
I completely agree. I know you are not from the procurement team, but could you? I assume you have a close dialogue with them since you're working with the sustainability strategy. Could you share that? Are you increasing sustainability demands in the tenders that you do over in procurement? And if you could shed some light on what you're doing there in the region of North Jutland.
I think the procurement team is doing everything they can in the frames that they have. They have a huge focus on it. They've tried different approaches because no one has the answers that will break this iceberg. So our impression is that they do everything they can, and they've tried some steps, and that's what's needed, that someone has the courage to take those steps and make those mistakes, because procurement teams are tied very tied to law and to different products and to all different kind of things. So someone needs to be able to make mistakes in a culture that doesn't embrace mistake very much. So our impression is that they are trying things, but it is a long process, and I don't think there's a region in Denmark, maybe even the north, that's cracked the code for this yet.
But so the procurement team can only handle the kind of demands or the issues that they know about. Sometimes the right solution to how to make a certain treatment more sustainable would be to make it in a different way, and that cannot be handled through procurement. And this is not a knowledge that you can expect the procurement team to have. That's why we really need to involve the healthcare professionals in this transition. They need to bring in their ideas and creativity and knowledge about how things could be done in a different way that would demand less treatment or less material use or less consumption in general.
And then there's a time with every new criteria that you put in a procurement process, it takes more time to evaluate. It takes more time to build. It's just a time issue to get green procurement. The procurers need more time if they're going to do it right, and that's a very important aspect as well, to give them more time, and that means it costs more money. The deadlines have to be longer. All the structural things have to follow.
And we see that from the other side of the table as well, that as you increase sustainability demands in tenders, many medtech and pharma companies do not have the capabilities yet to effectively respond. They might not have the data. If they have the data, they don't know how to systematic and effective get that fast enough, and of course they have some frustration sometimes in that the demands are different. And I think it's very interesting what you said, Mette, about including the clinicians and the personnel, healthcare personnel, because I think that's absolutely key. Then we see that what you said about the best solution might not be to make small adjustments on what we're already doing, but it could be something completely new or a larger change at least. And we see a risk there that often the logic in procurement is that you buy the same thing you did last year and then you try to get it 1 or 2% cheaper. And if you start pushing life cycle analysis very much on a product level, then you might pick for instance, the product with the lowest LCA, but the treatment as a whole would have been, if you designed the treatment in a different way for the full care pathway, that could have had a lower sustainability. That was a long point, and I think but that's the risk of focusing very much on the product, I think, and not on the overall treatment where you include the people as well.
We like to have dialogues with the Danish organization Choose Wisely. I know there are similar organizations in other countries that actually focus on the fact that a very large percentage of the treatments that are given in the healthcare sector in Denmark and in other countries are redundant or unnecessary, or we're over-treating or actually giving a treatment that doesn't have any effect. So they're trying to attack that, and of course, reducing inefficient and unnecessary treatments is our favorite thing, because that is reducing consumption without harming anyone.
Exactly.
So that's a very nice approach that we like to combine with the things that we do.
They do good work in Choose Wisely. We should get them on the podcast too. And I can also, for listeners, recommend the 2 episodes we did with Alexandra Jönsson on overdiagnosing and overtreatment. It's been so good having you on, Mette and Brit. We could talk about this for hours. Hopefully one day we'll get to do it physically. Brit, if you had to give one advice to people out there working with sustainability in healthcare, what would that be?
I don't know. I think our approach, and especially my approach, is always having the healthcare professionals in center of it all, because they know the solutions. They are a trusted voice for the patients, and they make sure that the solutions that we come up with are as good for the patients as what was before. So always put them sort of in the center of change, because they are a highly adaptive and very strong group who deserve every praise, really, for taking on this. So supporting them would be the biggest point in this.
And Mette? One
Well,
advice out there to our listeners?
don't blame. Don't blame, but encourage. Yeah. Everyone
Very
out
important.
there is doing what they are trained to do through their education and their professional work. Should not be blamed, but we need to encourage a different approach.
Thank you so much, the both of you, and thank you for everyone listening to the Sustainability Healthcare podcast. We really appreciate you all out there. So if you like what you heard, share it with a friend.